In November of 2016, months before the public would ever see this car, a woman named Leah Pritchett strapped herself into a bright red Dodge Challenger at Gainesville Raceway in Florida. She wasn't a journalist. She was an NHRA Top Fuel champion, and Dodge didn't bring her there to write a review. They brought her there to create a scandal. 9.65 seconds later, at 140 miles per hour, she crossed the finish line. And Dodge had just triggered exactly what they wanted. The National Hot Rod Association had rules. Any car running faster than 9.99 seconds needed a roll cage, a fire suit, and a racing license. This Challenger had none of those things. It was, technically, a street car. And it had just become too fast to be legal. Headlines wrote themselves, "Street car banned from drag strips." You literally cannot buy that kind of publicity. Most companies would panic. Dodge had planned this from the beginning. Let me paint you a picture of corporate madness. It's 2015, and Dodge has a problem that most companies would kill for. The 707 horsepower Hellcat is selling like crazy. Dealers can't keep them in stock. The muscle car war is officially back. Ford has the Shelby GT 350. Chevy has the Camaro ZL1. But Dodge looked at 707 horsepower and said, and I quote, "Not enough." Now, a reasonable company would have made incremental improvements. Maybe bumped it to 750, added some carbon fiber, called it a day. But this is Dodge we're talking about. The same company that thought putting a Viper engine in a pickup truck was a sensible business decision. So instead of incremental, they went nuclear. The mission? Build the fastest quarter-mile production car in the world at launch. Not the best handling, not the most refined. The fastest, in a straight line, period. Somewhere in Auburn Hills, Michigan, a group of engineers sat down, maybe after a 3-martini lunch, definitely after the lawyers had left the building, and asked themselves a question that should never be asked in a corporate boardroom. What if we just removed everything that isn't directly related to going fast in a straight line? The passenger seat? Gone. The rear seats? Gone. The trunk carpet? Goodbye. The fancy speakers? Who needs music when you have 840 horsepower screaming behind your head? And Tim Kuniskis, the head of SRT, who clearly understood that controversy sells better than specifications, said, "Do it." The heart of this mechanical insanity is an iron block aluminum head, supercharged 6.2-liter Hemi 5.8. But calling it the Hellcat engine with more boost would be like calling a nuclear submarine a boat with extra batteries. Dodge replaced 62% of the engine's components. 25 major upgrades, new pistons, stronger connecting rods, dual fuel pumps instead of one. And that supercharger? 2.7 liters, bigger than the entire engine in a Mazda Miata. Let that sink in for a moment. The supercharger alone, just the part that forces air into the engine, displaces more volume than some entire cars use to move 4 people and their groceries. It spins at over 15,000 RPM, shoving 14.5 psi of boost down the engine's throat. 15,000, while the engine itself only turns 6,300. The result? 808 horsepower on regular 91-octane pump gas. But Dodge wasn't done. Not even close. Because here's where it gets absolutely brilliant. Or completely insane, depending on your perspective. If you fill the tank with 100-plus octane race fuel and plug in something called the Direct Connection Performance Powertrain Controller, the system unlocks an alternate ECU calibration. The timing advances, the boost increases, and suddenly you're making 840 horsepower and 770 pound-feet of torque. Both numbers certified to the SAE J1349 industry standard. This isn't marketing fluff. This is verified, dyno-tested, engineer-signed-off power. But wait, because Dodge apparently thought this wasn't complicated enough. There's a key system. The black key limits you to 500 horsepower. Think of it as the valet mode for when your neighbor wants to borrow your drag car. The red key unlocks the full 808 horsepower. And if you want the full 840, red key plus the controller plus race fuel. It's like a video game cheat code, except the prize is whiplash. 840 horsepower in a Dodge Challenger. for $84,995. Let that marinate for a second. Now, getting that power to the ground required some creativity and convincing a lot of lawyers to look the other way. The Demon became the first street-legal production car to come with a factory TransBrake system. Let that sink in. Dodge somehow convinced their legal department to approve drag racing technology in a car you could drive to the grocery store. For those who didn't spend their teenage years at drag strips, here's how it works. You hold the brake and the gas at the same time, while the transmission locks the output shaft. The engine builds boost, up to 8 psi just sitting there, like a coiled spring waiting to explode. Then you release the button, and all that stored energy hits the rear wheels at once. The result? A launch so violent it registers 1.8 Gs of acceleration, the highest ever recorded in a production car. Somewhere, a liability attorney is still having nightmares. And that launch force created another problem. Or rather, another planned marketing opportunity. Because Dodge didn't just accept that their car did wheelies. They got it certified. The Demon became the first, and so far only, production car verified by Guinness World Records to lift its front wheels off the ground during a standing start. 2.9. 2 feet of wheelie distance. Not height, distance. The front wheels leave the pavement and stay airborne for almost a full meter before touching back down. This is not a feature you see advertised on a Toyota Camry, but it is a feature that generates millions of dollars in free YouTube content. But my favorite piece of engineering lunacy is something called the SRT power chiller. Most cars use the air conditioning to keep you comfortable. The Demon uses it to make the car faster. The system literally redirects refrigerant from the cabin AC to cool the Supercharger's intercooler. Your comfort, secondary concern. Engine efficiency, primary mission. The motor gets the cold air. You get whatever's left over. Priorities. There's also something called torque reserve. When you're staged at a drag strip, the engine management system closes the bypass valve and partially opens the throttle, building boost before you even launch. It's essentially storing power like a battery, ready to dump it all the moment you release the TransBrake. These are technologies that belonged on professional drag cars. Dodge put them in something you could drive to the grocery store, if you were brave enough. At this point, Dodge wasn't building transportation anymore. They were building an event. Speaking of brave, let's talk about the tires. The Demon came standard with Nitto NT05R drag radials, 315/40R18 on the rear. These are not all-season tires. These are not even performance tires. These are DOT-approved drag radials approaching slick-level grip. Basically, street-legal cheating that Dodge somehow convinced regulators to approve. The grip in dry conditions? Extraordinary. The grip in wet conditions? I hope you've made peace with your maker. Engineering clearly won this argument against common sense. And then there's the Demon Crate, perhaps the most absurd option package in automotive history. For $1, literally $1, Dodge would send you a wooden crate containing skinny front wheels for less rotating mass, a toolkit for swapping them, the direct connection controller, and a personalized car cover. $1. The crate probably cost more to ship than Dodge charged for it. This was not about profit margins. This was about turning car ownership into theater. Every unboxing video, every Instagram post, every YouTube thumbnail of that wooden crate, free advertising that money couldn't buy. A $1 crate for an $85,000 car that could do wheelies from the factory. Let that sink in. Now, about that NHRA situation. This is where Dodge's marketing genius really shines. When the Demon ran 9.65 seconds in testing, it technically became ineligible for standard drag strip use. The NHRA requires cars running under 10 seconds to have roll cages and safety equipment. But here's the brilliant part. Dodge didn't try to avoid this. They marketed it. "Streetcar banned from drag strips" became the tagline. The headlines wrote themselves. Every automotive journalist, every YouTube channel, every forum, they all repeated the same message. This car is so fast it got banned. You couldn't buy that kind of publicity. Dodge spent nothing on traditional advertising for this angle, and got millions in earned media coverage. The Demon wasn't just engineering, it was corporate rebellion. Carefully planned, perfectly executed, impossible to ignore. Now, let's talk about what this car actually does. 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds, with the 1-foot rollout that drag strips use. Without rollout, about 2.5. Either way, we're talking about acceleration that would make a Porsche 911 Turbo S feel like a Corolla. The Turbo S, a car that costs nearly twice as much, runs 0 to 60 in about 2.6 seconds with all-wheel drive helping it launch. The Demon, rear-wheel drive. Just 2 tires trying to contain 840 horsepower, and it's still faster. And just when you thought this was only about beating gasoline rivals, there's the Tesla comparison. The Model S P100D was the electric darling of the acceleration wars, hitting 60 in about 2.5 seconds with its all-wheel drive instant torque advantage. The Demon, 2.3 seconds, rear-wheel drive, on pump gas, with actual gears to shift, at nearly $50,000 less. Sometimes the old ways still have some tricks left. Against its own sibling, the numbers are almost comical. The Hellcat, already a monster at 707 horsepower, runs 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds, and the quarter in roughly 11.2. The Demon, 1.2 seconds, faster to 60. 1.55 seconds faster in the quarter. That's not an improvement. That's a generational leap in the same body style. Here's what makes the Demon so fascinating from an engineering perspective. It's the anti-track car. While Ferrari and Porsche and McLaren obsess over lap times and lateral Gs and braking distances, Dodge said, "What if we only cared about going straight?" The Demon's Bilstein adaptive suspension is specifically retuned for weight transfer, not cornering. It actually softens the front end during launch to help the nose rise and the weight shift backward. Most performance cars fight body roll. The Demon embraces it in one very specific direction. The commitment to this single-minded insanity went beyond engineering. Standard Demons came with one seat, the driver's. Removing comfort became the mission. The passenger seat, optional. Rear seats, optional. Floor mats, optional. Trunk carpet, optional. Every pound removed was a fraction of a second gained. When you order a Demon, you're not buying a car, you're buying a statement. And somewhere, an accountant fainted looking at the packaging complexity this created. Even with all that removal, the Demon still weighs 4,280 pounds. It's not a lightweight car by any measure. But Dodge compensated with the most aggressive version of the 8-speed torque-flight automatic ever built. This transmission can handle 1,000 pound-feet of torque. It shifts in 160 milliseconds. That's faster than you can blink. The engineers basically said, if we can't make it light, we'll make it violent. 4,280 pounds, 840 horsepower, 9.65 seconds in the quarter mile. These aren't specifications, they're warning labels. Dodge initially planned to build 3,000 of these monsters, but demand was so overwhelming they extended production. Approximately 3,300 units were eventually built, making the Demon rare, but not impossible to find. The MSRP started at $84,995, which sounds expensive until you realize what Porsche charges for similar acceleration. Think about this. A Porsche 911 Turbo S costs over $200,000. A Tesla Model S Plaid? Around $90,000. The Demon gives you faster acceleration than both, with a warranty, for 15% less than the Tesla and 60% less than the Porsche. From a pure dollars per horsepower perspective, the Demon might be the best value in modern performance car history. And here's the thing about the Challenger platform. It's old. The basic architecture dates back to the 2008 model year, which was itself based on a modified Mercedes E-Class platform from the 90s. Most companies would have replaced it years ago. Instead, Dodge just kept adding more power to the same basic car. It's like putting a jet engine in a 1995 Honda Accord. Except somehow it works. The Demon exists because FCA, Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, had a culture that allowed insanity to flourish. Sergio Marchionne, the CEO at the time, understood that in a world of increasingly similar cars, standing out required audacity. While other manufacturers were focused on fuel efficiency and autonomous driving, Dodge was building a car that could do wheelies. That's not a strategy you find in a business school textbook, but it worked. In 2023, Dodge did the impossible. They made the Demon look tame. The Demon 170, named for its capability to run on E85 ethanol, produces 1,025 horsepower. Over 1,000 from a production car with a warranty. It ran the quarter mile in 8.91 seconds. The original Demon's 9.65 suddenly seemed almost reasonable. These lunatics actually made their lunacy look conservative. 1,025 horsepower in a Dodge that you can buy at a dealership. This is fine. Everything is fine. But the Demon also represents the end of an era. Emissions regulations are tightening. Electric vehicles are dominating acceleration discussions. Legal departments are getting stronger. The days when a major automaker could build a car specifically designed to wheelie at launch and then brag about getting banned are almost certainly over. The Demon wasn't just a fast car, it was a timestamp, a reminder of what happens when engineers defeat lawyers. And that kind of corporate rebellion, it's becoming extinct. The 2018 Dodge Challenger SRT Demon was never meant to be a good car. It was meant to be a legend. Useless in corners, terrifying in rain, impossible to insure at reasonable rates. And absolutely, undeniably, the most committed drag racing machine ever sold with a factory warranty. 840 horsepower, 9.65 seconds, 2.92 feet of wheelie, and a marketing campaign built entirely around being told no, and doing it anyway. The Demon wasn't the fastest car ever built. It wasn't the most powerful, the most refined, or the most practical. But it was the last time a major automaker decided that being irresponsible was good business. Dodge looked at everything the automotive industry was becoming: safe, efficient, electric, sensible, and built the exact opposite. Not because they had to, because they wanted to. And for one glorious year, they got away with it. That's not just a car. That's a legend signed in tire smoke, certified by Guinness World Records, and remembered by everyone who believes that sometimes, the engineers should win. This is Car Chronicles, where we document the cars that shouldn't exist but do. Cars like the Demon don't happen often, and when they do, we document them here. If you enjoyed this story of automotive insanity, hit that subscribe button and join the Car Chronicles family. We've got decades of muscle car madness to explore together. And if you think 840 horsepower is extreme, wait until you see what the Europeans do with unlimited budgets. Check out our sister channel, Supercar Chronicles, where we dissect Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and hypercars that make the Demon look almost reasonable. Link in the description. This is Car Chronicles, where the horsepower is real, the stories are ridiculous, and the lawyers are always nervous.